I am not here to debate with anyone. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
I know this is probably my third, second, third? I don't know. I think I've lost count today. But I think it's about my second or third response video today. And I know people are getting tired, but I know I have to do one more. And the only reason I'm doing this one is because Miss Charwillie asked me to do it. And she says, do it Black Gnostic style. Now, whoever the MadHeadDoctor is, and I had not heard of him until somebody put him in my comment section 3, 4, 5 times and left me the link to his video of his opinion on the video I did in response to Big J. Now, I've answered Big J several times. I've also did a hangout with Big J for 2 hours, which is also on my channel that you can actually peruse, where I answered all the questions. Now, I recognize a self-important, aggrandized curmudgeon when I hear one. We call these kind of people pseudo-elites or pseudo-intellectuals. Write down prepared statements and act like they're journalists because they have to get the words right. And the MadHeadDoctor basically gives me that impression about him. Fortunately, his commentary is fairly short. And what he said about me is only a couple of minutes. And of that, he plays 60 seconds of what I said, which is self-selected from a video where I mostly read an article, which is cool. Now, I did 3, 4 videos on Section 8, and I did quite a few rants, but he picks 60 seconds to make a commentary off, which is very Fox News-like. Slightly unfair, but that's okay. That's why I do it. My response is this way, so you get a complete idea of what they said. Now, the first 2 or 3 minutes is about me, and the rest is about Big J and the rest of the stuff. Now, I don't know why it was so important to put me in it, unless you were going to do a complete response on a video that I did, instead of a personal commentary for a person that you don't know. And a person that you have not seen their whole work. I don't think you have, because if you had, then you would have a different impression of who I am and what I'm capable of. But that being said, we're going to give the MadHeadDoctor the work Black Gnostic style. And I love people like him who are pseudo-elites or pseudo-intellectuals, because I normally do what? I pull back the IQ. I pull back the intellectualism because I try to keep it in check because of the way I was raised. But I loved when people do this so I can bring out those fangs and dig in. You like coming after people, but I don't think you like to be hunted. So let's bring it on. With that, this is my response to the MadHeadDoctor, Black Gnostic style.
I'll put what I'm responding to in the description box. Now, Big J, the first thing I want to point out about B.G.S. is that he is not concerned for the subject of welfare, and he is not interested in seeing improvement of black people at all. What he's concerned about or interested in achieving is expressing more of his distaste for black women, especially single mothers. His channel is full of it. His comment sections are full of it. His comment sections are jam-packed with statements like, these black women. You can see that a lot on his boards. These black women. All over his comment boards.
Okay, this is a short clip. Like I said, it wasn't very long. He's talking to Big J, and he was saying what kind of person that I am and what I am concerned about, based on maybe the 1 or 2 videos that he's probably seen from me, that I'm not concerned about black people, the state of the black community as a whole. That's probably because you're looking selectively at videos when I'm talking about black women in particular. But you skip over when I talk about the Monahan report. You skip over when I talk about the Negro problem. You skipped over when I talked about the universal basic income. You skipped over when I put in and told black people about automation and what's coming and what they had to do, about driverless cars, about their jobs going away. When I talked about Trump and how Trump was basically taking America down, and beware about how China was basically taking over the globe. When I talked about black men improving themselves, talking about understanding women, about a whole host of things that you failed to peruse. You failed to understand and listen to me when I talk about how I actually do in real life work with the conscious community on a weekly and sometimes daily basis, and have been doing so for the past 30 years. But you know me from a couple of videos. Either you're the best psychic that I've ever heard of, the best mind reader that I've ever heard of, the best remote viewer that I've ever heard of that can absorb a person's life work or life intelligence in a matter of a second just through a video on YouTube. Impressive, not.
He also has this classist type mindset with his distaste for who he describes as the Pookie and Ray Ray. I've never said anything to him, but I know B.G.S, and what I said about him is all over his channel. And as you pointed out, Big J, when you brought up Jeff Sessions' aspirations to fill the jails with his war on drugs proposal, that would only create more of the kinds of black people that B.G.S looks down on. Now, for him to delight in the thought of welfare being taken away is asking for trouble for himself and everybody else. He's asking for trouble for the entire country. He has another video on his channel titled, Another L, Republicans Plan Massive Cuts to Programs for the Poor. In this video, he acknowledges that people with disabilities will be cut, veterans and other people, but his disdain for single mothers overrides his common sense. He's only interested in seeing pain on women's faces. And let me play about 60 seconds of his trash.
This is probably going to be another L that the Sisterhood of Failure will probably have to hold. While this article is not directly directed at black women or black people in general, we all know who the black jelly beans at the bottom of the jar are. And when white people and poor white people get a cold, guess who gets pneumonia? We're already seeing the first shock waves of the Section 8 vouchers being repealed through HUD. So when they start taking whacks at food stamps and welfare and cash aid assistance and stuff like that to white people in particular and everybody else in general, guess what's going to happen to black women? There's going to be a whole lot less independent women in the United States.
Now, if you were such an intellectual that you claim to be, such a brilliant person that you claim to be, then that's something that you would have known about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when they're talking about the United States heading into a downward spiral. At the very least, 2008, after 2008, 2009, you would have had an idea that this is coming. But people like you don't read, you don't look, and you don't observe. Am I elitist? Some people would say yes. I think so. You know what? I do have an elitist streak in me. But you do have an elitist streak when you've read, you've worked hard to gain the intellect and gain the knowledge that nobody else will do and nobody else will attain. So you do gain a measure of that. I try to keep it under wraps and undercover as best I can, unlike you, who claims that you're for the working person and the working man, but you poo-poo on the pro-blacks and the other people that you have a disdain for. I don't see you having a heart for what they call Pookie and Ray Ray and the other people that sleep on the couch, the other people that cause destruction in the community, because you've never listened to me or listened to the thoughts that I have had on this particular subject. Because we talked about this all the time. Education for boys, how do you get boys off the streets, get better education for them? How do you keep them from doing things? We come up with tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of solutions that black people will not accept. Normally I put them up, but the thing is, most of this time, this kind of stuff goes over people's heads. Now, in my Hangouts, if you listen to my Hangouts especially, where people ask me questions about solutions, about the Black community, what I think and what I think should be done, that's a different proposition. But you don't listen to the positive videos or the ones where I'm trying to teach. You always listen to the negative videos because that is what you gravitate to. I can hear it in your voice. I can hear it in the way you speak. I can hear it on what you concentrate on. That's why you only played that 60 seconds of what I said, because that was the 60 seconds that you wanted to get across, because you're trying to run what? Propaganda. Not very well. For such a smart person, it's an amateur job. I use Pookie and Ray Ray, Madden King, and all that stuff to talk about a type of person so that the audience will understand who I mean. There's a whole lot of reasons why Black boys are disenfranchised. But I don't see none of that shit on your videos. I don't see none of that shit on the videos that you actually put forth. You're basically talking about people, what you don't like about people, what they have said. Most of your videos are negative, just looking at the titles. But I'm the one that's negative because you say I hate Black women. Like I'm supposed to hate my 2 daughters and my grandsons. Yes, I got daughters and I got grandsons. And I hold women accountable. Single mothers, working class people. And if you look at my series, especially what I call the elite or the 92 octane women, but you think I have a disdain for single mothers. Not really. I want other women to get out of, if you're not going to help those single mothers, make them do better, get out of the way so other people can. Because single mothers don't need a pat on the head. They need a swift kick in the ass. Because you've been patting them on the head for 50 fucking years and it's gotten worse. You should know that. If you do your studying, if you're out there in the streets like you're supposed to be. But anyway, continuing.
White people catch a cold, we will catch pneumonia. That's an example of the civil fallout that I know will happen as a result of people being cut from their livelihood, food, shelter, and the rest. Massive civil unrest will ensue, but Mr. I speak so eloquently doesn't care because his heart is filled with emotion, because all the blood from his brain has rushed to his heart when it comes to seeing Black women in pain. He even giggled at the thought. You heard him giggle in that audio. This dude, B.G.S, is not a thinker. He's a feeler. That's why he doesn't realize that he's giggling at his own way of life going downhill with these cuts in welfare. Homelessness everywhere. An increase in everything he despises. Rape, robbery, theft, drug abuse, and murder. And also prostitution will increase. You'll see hookers everywhere, and they will include young girls and young boys. He doesn't get how connected welfare is to the rest of society. That domino effect will hit him too, but his heart is in the way of him realizing that. His remarks about how these cuts will create less independent women are sentiments I've heard from many hurt dudes like him. I categorize the entire male gender warriors as hurt dudes. Never mind the names y'all have, for yourselves. MG Toe, Manosphere, True Force Loneliness, Soto Nation, or whatever. I just call all of y'all hurt dudes. And I said y'all, Big J, because you're one of them, and I'll show you later. But B.G.S is one of the many hurt dudes on here who figures that a woman being displaced will increase the value of men. He, like others, don't realize how pathetic that is to feel that a woman has to be down and out and without to need a man.
Okay. It always amazes me for someone to gain such insight on 2 videos or 2, maybe 3 videos that he's seen of me. And then this particular dude who thinks he's a thinker and an elite. Remember I told you he thinks he's a pseudo intellectual? He says that he just called me an elitist, right? Elitist mindset, right? But all of a sudden I'm a feeler and not a thinker. Half the stuff I put up on my videos, he probably wouldn't even understand unless I broke it down to him. I would match video for video on anything he's ever done. And I've done about 400 videos, video for video, on who's the better thinker, who has the better intellect. In fact, I'd match mine against just about anybody on YouTube, especially Black YouTube. Because a lot of the brothers here would never heard of half the shit if I hadn't put it on video. Because I'm here to teach them how not to be a sheep like you, MadHeadDoctor. You're a sheep and you don't realize that you're a sheep. I'm not the one that's a feeler. You are. Because a thinker would at least peruse the titles of the videos that I put up, which you don't. That's more like the women, the black women that come here. You are worse than a simp. You don't even qualify as a Captain Save-A-Ho. Because only a woman, and there's many that are coming on my channels, black ones on this channel, and I also have another channel called Black Gnostic Speaks. I bet you haven't perused that one. And all the women say the same thing about men being hurt and hurt dudes. And you classify men as hurt dudes. That's a woman speaking, which I was actually surprised when you actually said that, because most men don't talk about hurt dudes. They might talk about mean dudes. They might talk about dudes that hate women. They might call you no good and a few other choice names that have no entries in dictionaries. Let's put it that way. I could even gone with you calling somebody gay. But hurt dude or hurt men is something specific to black females. Well, females particular and black females especially. So it's talking about feeling and emotional. You're speaking more from emotion than knowledge. Now, I really don't do beefs on this particular channel. And I don't think you're worthy of a beef. Because 2 videos, or I don't even know how many videos that you've actually looked at. Because you never spoken to me. You never interacted with me. So how do you know what I'm like? You're playing amateur psychologist. But I will tell you what I'm hurt about. Because I've been doing this for 25 years. Actually longer than that, 30 years. I am hurt about the position of the black community or black people in general. I was hurt about how oppressed and suppressed our people actually are. That's what started me on my journey to actually research and figure this shit out. And I've been doing that for 30 years, starting locally with my city, spreading out to my state, extending it to the nation, and eventually the world. I've been doing geopolitical studies basically for the last 20 years, basically more than that, since 1995. I actually took lessons from a guy that does it. I was his client, as he says, for about 10 years. He taught me the publications to look at, where to look, how to read, and how to analyze geopolitical and political text by seeing how he analyzes stuff. Actually, I got very, very good at it. So good, in fact, the DOD has probably been monitoring me for the last 13 years. In fact, when I'm on a stream, they used to regularly cut off my internet connection. It is what it is. Too much black talk. You're playing with pro-black, and let me be blunt. You don't know what the fuck you are talking about. Anybody with Braille could have predicted what was going to happen. I predicted it. The prediction in one of my videos, as a matter of fact, I did it back in June of last year. When I talk about the gender war, the end of the gender war, I said Trump was going to end it because he was going to do cuts on everybody, because they have to come. That's why I put the link up to Simpson and Bowles' Council on Debt, so people would actually get a taste of how to understand it. I didn't even put the whole thing up because it's going to go over people's heads like it normally does. Like it will go over your head because you don't know shit about it. I had to read Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope to get a background on what exactly was going on and break it down from a perspective so I could break it down for black people so they can get an idea of what's going on. You concentrate on pro-black and what the so-called pro-blacks do, and you critique people who are way above your intellectual grade and level and your pay grade, because you don't have enough background and knowledge to even critique them. But since yours are short, I'm going to make mine short. I'm not going to do an hour-long rant on you. One, because you're not worth it. And two, plus you only had a couple of minutes on me. I don't even know why you even mentioned me. I don't even know why you're even interested in my channel and Big J's channel. Never heard of you, never wanted to hear of you, and could care less, because of what I have seen of your channel. I'm actually more impressed with Big J's channel, even though he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about either. But I'll end on this one because I started this one with the quote from my personal hero and great scholar, John Henry Clark. I only debate my equals, all others I teach. You're not even worthy of being a student. But I will end with this one because it's a quote that I heard, 20 years ago. And Jim Hightower said it back when he was talking about, I think he was talking about the first George Bush, when he said they've never built a building so high that a little dog couldn't lift his leg and take a pee on it. And now normally what that would mean is that even a little guy can make a comment on something, a big structure or something much, much bigger and higher than he is. But I'm going to use it this way as far as levels is concerned. You're the little dog taking a pee on my building. And after you pee on my building and pee on my channel, guess what? I'm still going to be the building and you're still going to be the little dog. It is what it is. But that's all I'll say for this one. With that, that's all I got. This is BGS out.